custom data layer values feature in the native browser storage listener allows you to take information from the browser and from data layer activity and use that information to then push custom values into the data layer in real time. Now, if you're not familiar with this listener, watch the overview video and make sure that you watch the video that will be posted here on the 3 activity features. It'll give you a good basic understanding of what the listener does and how it works, and it'll set you up to better understand this scenario. Now, in this case, we have the user source listener running, and when the initial user source value is set or identified and stored in the browser, we're also storing a timestamp. And we're storing this timestamp in a local storage key called user source first timestamp. And if we jump back to our native browser setup here, under event settings, we are targeting this user source first timestamp local storage key. And every single time a page loads or the container loads, essentially our ListenLayer script loads, we're going to push the value of this timestamp into the data layer. And our goal might be to determine whether this timestamp occurred in the past. Now, there could be a number of situations where you want to do time-based calculations, and we have some cool features that will be released regarding that soon. This will give you just a taste of how that works. So what we're then doing is when you enable this custom data layer values feature, it will turn on this custom values screen where we can then write a number of simple or lookup rules that will push custom values into the data layer. And if you want to dig into how those rules work and some of the more advanced things you can do, watch this video here, learn how to write rules. But we're going to use this example and just take a look at what we can do here in browser storage currently. What we're doing is we're trying to determine when we have a native local storage event occur, and that includes this timestamp, which has a format of a date function. We want the condition to only match if that's in the past. Now, one important thing to note here is under event settings, when you tell ListenLayer which browser storage information you want to target, you have to tell it what the format is of that information. So it's either going to be a single value, which would be like a simple string, or it might be comma delimited or URL encoded, or in this case, it's a date function. Now, at the moment of this recording, we're only supporting time calculations based on date functions that are just a simple JavaScript timestamp. So if you're going to use like ISO or epoch time here, the calculation isn't going to currently work. And we can take a look at what that looks like here. In our example website, you can see we've set the user source first timestamp, and that timestamp is just the full listed out default timestamp you're going to get from JavaScript. And just as a reminder, under our custom values here, what we want to have happen is if that's in the past, we're actually going to push the value in the past into the data layer. Now, we could push a number of things in here. We could push other timestamps. We could push browser storage variables. We could push data layer variables. There's a number of things we could push in. For illustration purposes, we're just going to tell ourselves, hey, this time is in the past. And so here we've actually, visited this website. Let's go ahead and navigate to another page, and we'll see what our console activity here is. And what we notice here is we have a data layer event, native local storage, because it recognized that that local storage still exists. And it knows that this value here is a timestamp value. And we know at this point in time that that is now in the past. And so we can do something based on that maybe perhaps through Google Tag Manager. In the future, again, we plan to expand the support for different time formats as far as running calculations, but then also just in general expand the ability to do calculations. Now, this is one of the more advanced examples of how you might use custom data layer values. There's a lot of other things you can do not related to timestamps. For example, does an ID exist or does an ID not exist, and being able to determine whether user is identifiable or not, and then push custom values into the data layer based on that. So there's a lot you can do with this. The sky really is the limit. Whatever you can think up, you can probably build. So keep us posted and let us know if you need any help.